Welcome. Today we're undertaking a very thorough analysis of the life and career of Daniel Clive Wheldon. He was a driver who really did reach the absolute peak of American motorsport.
He did. And his story, it's a powerful example of someone pursuing that American dream in the world of open-wheel racing.
We've compiled a pretty significant amount of source material for this, everything from biographical details of his early days in British karting all the way through to the official investigative reports that followed his death.
And our focus here is very precise. We want to rigorously examine the factual record of his entire journey. We'll be looking at his incredible successes, the key career choices he made, and of course, the lasting influence his final race had on safety across the sport.
When you look at Dan Wheldon, the accomplishments just jump right off the page.
Oh, absolutely.
He secured the 2005 IndyCar Series Championship, and maybe most impressively, he was a two-time winner of the Indianapolis 500.
A huge feat. First in 2005 and then again under very different circumstances in 2011. He really did leave a permanent mark on the sport's history books.
That success was just undeniable. It cemented him as one of the true elite drivers of his generation.
It did, but the entire narrative is, of course, framed by the tragic events of October 2011 in Las Vegas, where he passed away at just 33 years old.
So we have to approach this entire subject with a great deal of diligence and a profound respect for the gravity of what happened.
Exactly. Our commitment is to meticulously document the factual findings from the sources covering his career and, with great care, the investigation into his death.
Okay, so let's begin. Let's unpack this entire arc, starting right at the beginning, the foundations laid in the United Kingdom and the critical circumstances that really pushed him to cross the Atlantic.
It's the only place to start, really.
Daniel Wheldon was born on June 22, 1978. This was in Emberton, Buckinghamshire in England. And his family background, it wasn't one of these, racing dynasties you sometimes see.
Not at all. It was a very working-class foundation. His father, Clive, was a plumber and an electrician.
And he was the one who was actually competing in karting initially.
That's right. And his mother, Sue, was deeply involved, too, acting as Clive's timekeeper. That family connection to the sport was there from the very beginning.
Wheldon himself was of Irish descent, and he was one of 5 children. He had 3 younger brothers and a sister.
And beyond the track, when you look at his education at Bedford School, you see this serious underlying athleticism. The sources say he was a good student, but he really, really excelled physically.
In what kinds of sports?
Well, team sports like rugby and squash, but he also captained the school's cricket team, and he was noted for his talent in cross-country running.
So a very driven, very competitive nature.
Exactly, and that translated almost perfectly into motorsport. The inspiration for him was very clear.
Nigel Mansell.
The iconic British world champion. Wheldon started competitive karting when he was just 8 years old.
In a kart his father built for him, right?
Yeah.
Little 60cc kart.
That's the one. Before he moved up into the faster 100cc categories. And the talent. I mean, it was obvious right away. He was dominant.
Dominant really is the right word. Looking at his record in the UK junior categories, he was a prodigy.
He was. He won the RAC British Cadet Karting Championship 3 times in a row.
3 times. That's incredible.
1988 and 1989 and 1990. After that, he received some important mentorship from people like Terry Fullerton, and he just kept climbing the ranks, eventually winning the FIA Formula O World Cup in 1995.
So by 1996, the next logical step is single-seater cars.
Right. He moved into the Formula Vauxhall Junior Championship with a team called JLR, and again, immediate success. He had 3 victories and finished 2nd overall in the championship. He showed he could adapt that raw speed from karts to cars.
He then moved on to Formula Ford in 97 and 98, and this is where a really crucial rivalry starts to develop.
It is. He finished 4th and then 3rd overall in both the British and the European Formula Ford championships. He was winning races, but he was also in this intense neck-and-neck battle with another young British driver.
Jenson Button.
Jenson Button. And while Button was sort of on this path towards Formula 3 and eventually Formula 1 with, stronger financial backing, he and Wheldon were constantly pushing each other in those junior series.
And this is where the story takes a sharp turn. It really shows you how thin the margins are in a racing career. Despite all this talent, all this proven success,
He hit the wall, the financial brick wall that so many talented drivers face, especially in the UK and Europe.
he just didn't have the funding. The
Yeah.
private backing or the corporate sponsorship to move up to the next level, like British Formula 3 or Formula Renault.
And this wasn't just, a small problem. It was an absolute roadblock. It forced him to completely reevaluate his path. The cost to run a competitive season in those series was just astronomical.
So a decision had to be made.
It was actually Ralph Furman Sr., who he had worked with in Formula Ford, who suggested he look at the United States.
So in early 1999, he makes this life-changing choice. He abandons that traditional European or Formula 3, Formula 3000, F1, and bets his entire career on American open-wheel racing,
A huge gamble.
but one that paid off almost immediately. As soon as he got to the U.S., that talent that was kind of stalled by a lack of money, it just started winning again.
Instantly. In 1999, he's driving for a team called J-Hard Primus Racing in the U.S. F2000 National Championship.
And the transition was
Well,
seamless.
absolutely. He won 6 races, had 11 top 10 finishes and 14 starts, and clinched the championship. He became the first British and European Series champion, and he also won the Rookie of the Year award.
It sounds like he was really working hard to make it happen. So the sources mentioned he was flying back and forth at first.
He was. Still trying to see if a Formula 3 seat might open up in Europe, but after about 3 months, he fully committed to the U.S. He saw that the opportunity was really there for him, and that F2000 success earned him a spot in their Hall of Fame.
He didn't waste any time climbing that American ladder either. The very next year, 2000, he's in the Toyota Atlantic Championship with PPI Motorsports.
And makes history on his debut. He won the season opener at Homestead Miami Speedway. He was the first driver ever to win in that series on their very first start.
He finished that season as the runner-up and, again, took home the Rookie of the Year award. The consistency was just phenomenal.
It was. Then in 2001, it was up to the Indy Lights Championship with Pac West Lights, and he keeps this incredible streak going of finishing every single race. He got 2 wins late in that season at Gateway and Road Atlanta.
Top 10 finishes in all 12 events.
Every single one, which led to his 3rd straight runner-up finish in a major American feeder series and his 3rd straight Rookie of the Year award. The groundwork was now completely laid. The American system had given his talent the chance to really flourish.
Which brings us to the top level of American open-wheel racing. Now, it's really important to set the stage here. At this time, the sport was defined by what was known as the split.
Right. This very bitter rivalry between the established kart series and the newer, oval-focused Indy Racing League, the IRL.
And after he wasn't able to secure a seat in kart, Wheldon made the choice to commit his future to the IRL.
And that decision really opened the door for him. He started his relationship with the league in 2002 as a test driver for Panther Racing.
That role led to him getting a race seat for the final 2 events of that year. It was crucial experience at the top level, even if he only finished 36th in the point standings from just those 2 starts.
His career really took a major leap forward in 2003. Panther Racing couldn't get the funding together for a second full-time car, so he ended up joining Andretti Green Racing, or AGR.
He did a lot of testing for them, helped develop their new Honda engine program, and was signed as a test driver, sort of waiting in the wings for a full-time shot.
And that shot came very abruptly. It was due to another driver's misfortune.
Dario Franchitti, one of AGR's regular drivers.
Exactly. Franchitti had a serious motorcycle accident back in Scotland, broke some vertebrae, and was forced out of the car for a while. So Wheldon got the call.
His debut for AGR was at the Indy Japan 300. He qualified 5th and finished 7th. A really credible performance.
Very solid. But then came his first taste of the Indianapolis 500 in 2003, and it was intense.
He qualified 5th again, showing incredible pace. But late in the race, he was involved in a really high-speed incident.
A huge crash. He hit the concrete retaining wall, and it just launched his car into the air. It somersaulted violently before landing upside down.
It was a brutal introduction to just how unforgiving oval racing can be.
It was. But a testament to the safety of the cars even then, he emerged physically unharmed. And maybe more importantly, he proved he had that innate feel for speed on ovals, which a lot of drivers coming from Europe struggle with.
And that season, which included a podium finish at Texas, was enough to earn him the 2003 IndyCar Rookie of the Year award.
By 2004, he had a full-time seat with AGR. He was no longer just a promising rookie. He was seen as a real championship contender.
The breakthrough came early. At the second race of the season in Phoenix, he got his first career pole position.
But the real defining moment was his first IndyCar win. It came at Twin Ring Motegi in Japan.
And he didn't just win it, he completely dominated. He led 192 laps from pole.
That victory just cemented his status as a frontrunner. It proved he belonged at the sharp end of the grid.
He carried that momentum straight into the biggest race of the year, the Indy 500. He qualified second and finished third, even though the race was shortened by rain.
It just confirmed what everyone was starting to see. He was an oval specialist, and he added 2 more wins that year.
A really thrilling victory at Richmond, where he had to hold off Helio Castroneves on the very last lap.
And a significant win at Nazareth Speedway, which, sadly, turned out to be the very last motor race ever held at that historic track.
So by the end of 2004, he'd scored 533 points and finished second overall in the championship.
Just behind his AGR teammate Tony Kanaan, he was now, without a doubt, part of the absolute elite tier of IndyCar drivers.
And all of that set the stage for what would become his definitive season, 2005.
He stayed with AGR, and he was just relentless. He opened the season with a commanding win at Homestead, leading 158 of the 200 laps.
Then came his first win on a permanent road course at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. This was a big deal because it proved he wasn't just an oval driver.
A very important win for his reputation. Then he went back to Japan and won at Motegi for the 2nd year in a row.
But the centerpiece of that entire year was, of course, the 89th running of the Indianapolis 500.
He started from 16th, which is pretty far back for a potential winner, but he and the team just expertly managed their tire wear and their race strategy.
A lot of the focus of that race was on the late race battle with Danica Patrick. She was making huge headlines as the first woman to lead a significant number of laps at Indy.
She was. But the race really came down to a strategic battle over fuel.
Patrick was trying to stretch her final tank of fuel to the end, and Wheldon was just maintaining his position, waiting.
And with just 7 laps to go, you could see Patrick start to slow down just a little bit. She was having to conserve fuel. That opened the door, and Wheldon made the decisive pass to take the lead and the victory.
It was a massive win. Not just for him, but for all of British motorsport.
It really was. He became the first British driver to win the Indianapolis 500 since the legendary Graham Hill all the way back in 1966. It was the ultimate validation for his decision to come to America.
And he didn't let up after Indy. He just kept that incredible momentum going. He took his 5th win of the season at Pikes Peak,
which equaled the series record for wins in a season set by Sam Hornish Jr. a few years earlier.
But then, just 2 races later at Chicagoland, Wheldon won again, taking his 6th victory of the year and setting a new series benchmark.
His consistency was just off the charts. It meant the championship was decided very early.
He actually clinched the title mathematically before the second-to-last race at Watkins Glen. All he had to do was complete a single practice lap to score enough points. His lead was just insurmountable.
He finished that season with 628 points, the IndyCar Series champion. He also earned the prestigious Autosport British Competition Driver of the Year award. It was the absolute pinnacle of his time with Andretti Green Racing.
So, following that incredible championship season, Wheldon makes a career move that, well, it caused a lot of discussion in the paddock.
It did. Despite winning the title with AGR, he chose to leave the team when his contract expired at the end of 2005.
And this wasn't just about him wanting a new challenge, was it?
No, it was more strategic than that. It was driven by the changing landscape of the sport. Manufacturers like Toyota were leaving, and Wheldon wanted to ensure he had long-term security with a team that had guaranteed factory support.
Enter Chip Ganassi Racing.
Exactly. CGR had already started some informal talks with him, so by signing with them for the 2006 season, he was moving to a team that was also making the switch from a Panos to a Dallara chassis, and crucially had the continuing Honda engine supply. It ensured he would remain at the front.
The 2006 season started off well. He won the opener at Homestead, carrying over his momentum.
He did, but the Indy 500 that year was just defined by bad luck. He was completely dominant, leading a race-high 148 laps, but then a late puncture on lap 183 forced him into the pits for an unscheduled stop.
And that dropped him to a really frustrating 4th-place finish.
And that small delay, that one bit of misfortune, proved to be absolutely catastrophic for his championship hopes.
This brings us to one of the closest and most agonizing championship losses in the history of the series.
It really was. Wheldon came into the final race at Chicagoland as one of 4 drivers still eligible for the title, and he did everything he needed to do. He won the race, his 2nd victory of the season.
So he finished the year tied on points with Sam Hornish Jr., 475 points each.
And for anyone who doesn't know the series rules, the tiebreak is decided purely by the number of wins.
It's a harsh rule.
It is. Even though Wheldon might have had better consistency across the board, Hornish had 4 wins that year compared to Wheldon's 2. So Hornish took the championship, It just shows you how razor-thin the margins were.
What's really fascinating is how he bounced back from that disappointment. He stayed with CGR for 2007 and set a new series record.
He did. He won his third straight season opener at Homestead. Then he followed that up with another win at Kansas Speedway.
The Indy 500 that year was a major setback, though. He was involved in a crash with Marco Andretti, which resulted in him retiring from the race and losing his championship lead.
And the sources also detailed that. That very public confrontation he had with Danica Patrick at Milwaukee after an on-track incident.
Right. They had a physical confrontation.
They did, but it's also noted that they met with the IndyCar president shortly after and reconciled. It just speaks to the high intensity of the competition, but also the professionalism that's required.
Despite a few retirements that season, he was still performing at a high level, finished fourth in the points.
He stayed with CGR for 2008, which would be his last successful season with them. He won at Kansas again, becoming the first driver to win 2 in a row there.
And we really have to mention what he did after winning at Iowa Speedway that year.
A truly remarkable moment of generosity. After winning the Iowa Corn Indy 250, he publicly announced he was donating his entire prize money to help the victims of the severe tornadoes and floods that had recently hit that area.
That action really connected with the American fan base. It showed a different side to him, beyond that confident, sometimes cocky persona.
It did. And if we look at the bigger picture, 2008 was the year the IRL and the Champ Car Series finally merged. This led to a major change in the schedule, with a lot more road and street courses being added.
Which didn't necessarily play to Wheldon's strengths.
Not entirely. While he was still a dominant force on the ovals, his results on the more technical road circuits were not as strong. This contributed to him sliding a bit in the standings, though he still managed to finish 4th overall.
And this shift in the schedule, plus some internal team politics, it all leads to his next big team change.
It does. Wheldon actually had an offer to extend his contract with Ganassi in May of 2008, but he turned it down when he found out that his old teammate, Tony Kanaan, was in talks with CGR about a potential seat.
He felt betrayed by that.
Deeply. He saw it as a lack of commitment from the team, as if they were already looking for his replacement despite his strong performance. And even though Kanaan ended up staying with AGR, the damage was done. Wheldon told Ganassi he was leaving.
CGR then announced they were releasing him, which opened the door for Dario Franchitti to come back from a short stint in NASCAR and take that seat.
This whole upheaval led him back to where he started in the IRL, with Panther Racing, for the 2009 season.
He struggled a bit early in the year, but he was immediately strong at Indianapolis. He started 18th, but drove a great race to finish in 2nd place.
That whole 2-year period at Panther, 2009 and 2010, the sources suggest it was a source of real frustration for both Wheldon and the team owner, John Barnes.
Because he couldn't get a win.
Exactly. Despite a lot of strong drives, a lot of podium challenges on the ovals, he failed to win a single race. For a former champion used to winning all the time, that was a tough thing to accept.
But the Indy 500 was still his strong suit. In 2010, still with Panther, he finished 2nd again, for the 2nd year in a row.
A brilliant drive, really. He moved up through the field mostly thanks to great pit stop strategy. That period also had that spectacular but thankfully harmless crash at Sonoma.
Right, he flipped upside down during a warm-up lap.
He finished that 2010 season 9th in the championship, and the partnership with Panther ended on a sour note after the season.
There were legal issues over money.
There were. In August 2011, Wheldon filed a lawsuit against John Barnes for what he claimed was significant late payment of salary and earnings. That was eventually settled a couple of months later, near the end of that year.
Which brings us to 2011, a year of just unbelievable highs and devastating lows.
It truly was. Despite being a 2-time Indy 500 winner and a series champion, Wheldon couldn't find a full-time drive for the season. He just didn't have the sponsorship backing.
So he missed the first 4 races of the year.
The only opportunity that came up was for the Indianapolis 500. He got a ride with his close friend Brian Herta's small, low-budget team, Brian Herta Autosport.
This was a real underdog story. He was driving a used chassis they had leased from another team.
It was. But he managed to qualify 6th for the race, which was the centennial running of the Indy 500.
And the finish of that race is one of the most famous in motor racing history.
Absolutely for the ages. Wheldon was running in 2nd place on the very last lap, looking at a solid podium finish.
The leader was the rookie driver, J.R. Hildebrand.
Hildebrand was leading, but coming out of the final corner, turn 4, he hit the wall while trying to pass a slower car.
And in just a stunning moment of being in the right place at the right time, Wheldon swept past the wrecked car of Hildebrand.
He crossed the finish line to claim his second Indianapolis 500 victory.
The sheer improbability of it is what stands out.
It is. He became the first and only driver in the entire history of the race to win the Indy 500 by leading only the final lap. It wasn't about dominance, it was about flawless execution and capitalizing on one tiny mistake from a competitor. A truly incredible win for that small BHA team.
After that huge, contract-specific victory, Wheldon's value to the sport was clear, and it went beyond just driving.
It did. He spent some time working as a color commentator and a pit lane reporter for Subaverse versus the TV broadcaster for the series. And the sources say he was excellent at it. Insightful, witty, and had deep technical knowledge.
At the same time, he was working on the future of the sport itself.
He was. He was hired directly by IndyCar and the chassis manufacturer Dallara to do the testing and development work on the prototype for the new 2012 car. His feedback on aerodynamics and mechanical grip was shaping the next generation of IndyCar.
And then, his own future finally seemed secure. On the morning of October 16, 2011, he signed a multi-year contract to replace Danica Patrick at Andretti Autosport, starting in 2012.
His career was back on track.
Later that same day, he was scheduled to race in the season finale, the IZOD IndyCar World Championship at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
And he had accepted this highly publicized challenge from the IndyCar CEO, Randy Bernard. It was a $5 million prize if he could win the race after starting from the very back of the grid in 28th place.
The sources mentioned that Wheldon was cautious about this challenge.
He was. In the lead-up to the race, he had voiced some frustration, saying his car was reportedly more than 3 miles per hour slower than some of the other cars. This raised concerns about having to race in such a dense high-speed pack, especially on a high-banked oval like Las Vegas that encourages that kind of racing.
And now we have to turn to the tragic conclusion of that day, October 16, 2011. And we'll discuss this with great sensitivity, focusing only on the factual accounts from the reports.
Of course. The accident happened very early in the race, on lap 11, between turns 1 and 2. It was a massive 15-car chain reaction.
It started when James Hinchcliffe's car was clipped by Wade Cunningham's.
That initial contact caused Cunningham to hit J.R. Hildebrand, which sent Hildebrand's car airborne and basically set off this massive escalating pileup that spread across the entire width of the racetrack.
Wheldon was on the left side of the track. He was traveling at about 224 miles per hour, trying to find a way through the chaos of crashing cars and debris.
His path was blocked by the cars of Vitor Meira, Charlie Kimball, and E.J. Viso. He decelerated as much as he could, getting down to about 10% throttle, but he just couldn't avoid contact.
He struck the left rear wheel of Charlie Kimball's car at an impact speed of 165 miles per hour.
And that wheel-to-wheel contact, which is so dangerous in open-wheel racing, it launched his car violently into the air. It flew for about 325 feet, rotating toward the concrete wall and the catch fence.
The fatal impact was with one of the steel posts that support the catch fence.
That's right. His car hit the post on its right-hand side while it was traveling parallel to the fence, up above the wall.
The impact was horrific. The reports state that the fence post penetrated the cockpit area, deforming the roll hoop. The post struck the lower right-hand side of Wheldon's helmet.
The official investigation documented extreme G-forces on the chassis, and it confirmed he sustained 2 distinct impacts to his head, which resulted in an immediate catastrophic injury.
The race was stopped immediately. Wheldon was extricated from the car and airlifted to the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada.
And tragically, he was pronounced dead on arrival due to blunt trauma to the head. It was the first fatality in IndyCar since Paul Dana in 2006.
Out of respect for Dan and the gravity of the situation, the race was abandoned. The decision was made after consulting with the drivers and the team owners.
Instead, the entire field of cars returned to the track for a very solemn 5-lap, 3-wide formation salute in his honor. It was a powerful and heartbreaking display of mourning from the entire community.
His car number, 77, was displayed alone on the scoring pylon.
Following this tragedy, a full and meticulous investigation was launched by the series, with help from the FIA, Motorsport's global governing body. The findings were released in December of 2011.
And the conclusion was both clear and complex. It found that there was no single cause for the crash.
Instead, the report pointed to a convergence of several contributing factors that created what they called a perfect storm.
Let's go through those factors because they're central to his legacy. First, the catch fence itself. The steel support posts were identified as a major hazard given the speeds involved.
Second, the high-speed pack racing. The track's design and the car's characteristics encouraged a large number of cars to run in extremely close quarters, which dramatically increased the risk of a multi-car pileup like the one that happened.
And the third factor was what they called unlimited track movement. The rules in the track design allowed drivers to change lines very rapidly, meaning once the incident began, the chain reaction was instantaneous and completely unpredictable.
The report concluded that it was impossible to say for sure that the result would have been different if any one of those factors had been absent. It really was that perfect storm.
The sources paint a very compelling and complete picture of the man himself. In Autosport magazine, he was described as one of a golden crop of richly talented British drivers who truly achieved the American dream.
Publicly, he had this brash, confident persona. He was sometimes described as cocky yet likable, but that was always balanced by his reputation as a completely devoted family man, known for his charisma and a sense of humor.
He was also considered a very keen learner, very focused on his objectives, whether that was winning a race or understanding the technical side of the car.
And that focus went beyond the racetrack. He was dedicated to philanthropy, raising money for Alzheimer's research and for the Sam Schmidt Paralysis Foundation. He even helped with the physics development for the online racing simulation game, SimRaceway.
But the most profound part of his legacy is the immediate and fundamental impact his death had on safety and the sport.
It was incredibly swift and definitive. Just 2 days after his passing, the chassis manufacturer Dallara announced they were naming the new 2012 chassis, the very one Wheldon had been developing, in his honor. It would be called the DW12.
So his legacy is literally built into the DNA of every IndyCar that has raced since. But it was more than just a name. The car itself featured significant design changes.
It did. Changes that directly addressed the factors that contributed to the Las Vegas crash. Specifically, the DW12 introduced a new bumper and Nerf bar section at the rear wheels.
To prevent that kind of wheel-to-wheel contact that launches cars.
Exactly. The new system was engineered specifically to reduce the risk of cars climbing over each other's wheels and becoming airborne in multi-car accidents. It was a rapid, direct engineering response to the tragedy.
Beyond the technology, the racing community established numerous tributes. His funeral was held in Florida, and a large public memorial service took place in Indianapolis.
And it really says so much about the respect he commanded from his peers that Dario Franchitti, Scott Dixon, and Tony Kanaan, 3 of his biggest rivals and friends, served as his pallbearers.
The memorials extended back to the UK as well. A charity race was held in Milton Keynes, with the proceeds going to a charity chosen by his family.
And the RoboPong 200 endurance karting event, which he had won back in 2005, permanently renamed its trophy the Dan Wheldon Cup.
He also had a very significant bond with the city of St. Petersburg, Florida.
He did. That was the site of his first road course win. In March 2012, a street that makes up part of that track was officially renamed Dan Wheldon Way.
He was also recognized posthumously with major awards, including the Gregor Grant Award for his lifetime achievements and the 2011 IndyCar Series Most Popular Driver Award, which was voted on by the fans.
His influence even reached across the globe. He was scheduled to race in the Australian V8 Supercars Gold Coast 600 just a week after his passing. That event named its International Driver Trophy the Dan Wheldon International Driver Trophy.
And finally, in recognition of his incredible career, he was inducted into the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame in 2019.
So as we conclude this review of the material, we've seen the full scope of his life. From the early success in England that was redirected by financial reality to becoming an IndyCar champion and a 2-time Indianapolis 500 winner in the United States.
His career was really defined by this immense talent and fierce ambition, and ultimately by that tragic convergence of factors in Las Vegas. The findings confirmed that while it was a perfect storm, his legacy is that the sport responded instantly.
The sources show that Dan Wheldon wasn't just an elite driver. He was a figure whose life and, tragically, his death directly influenced fundamental structural changes in motorsport safety. Changes crystallized in the very chassis that bears his name, the DW12. It really makes you consider how sporting tragedy so often becomes the unfortunate catalyst for necessary and immediate innovation.
It's a powerful story of triumph, immense risk, and an enduring influence that continues to shape the standards of safety in high-speed racing today.
Thanks for listening.